So you're in your 30s and you're thinking, yeah, you know, I thought I was going to be a millionaire by now, but I'm not. This video is for you because I'm going to show you how to become a millionaire. Stay tuned. Hey, are you a 30-something? You're between the ages of 30 and 39. Haven't hit your 40th year, but you're definitely out of your 20s. And you haven't started saving for retirement. This video is for you. I'm going to be pointing out some really critical facts that you need to know if you're in this age range. You still have what I call a superpower in investing, and that's time. If you're at 20, you definitely have a lot more superpower capacity. You've definitely upgraded a few energy levels, so to speak. But even at 30, you still have a lot of ability to save a sizable amount in your 30s. Now, I'm going to warn you, if you happen to watch the 20s video, you are not going to have exactly the same amount of compounding, because the big thing here is you've lost possibly 10 years of compounding time, and that's sizable. That is easily one doubling of your money. So let's say you were able to save $1 million, you could have had two if you started at 20. In this video though, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how much you need to consider saving to have some sort of retirement funds if you decide to retire at 60 years old. These are my rough numbers. Contribute more if you can. You know, everybody's budget is going to be a little different, and everybody's saving plan a little different. I'm going to say stick to this video, take a peek at this, and you will be surprised. Stay tuned. Hey, so what we're going to do is we are going to just do some rough calculations here to get an idea how things could look if we were, let's say, 30 years old. Let's say you're 30 years old and you're retiring, let's say it's 60 years old. So you have our 30-year time window to invest in. Now this is a very simple calculation, but it kind of gives you an idea of where you can be. So we're going to go to a site called calculators.net. Okay, here we are right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on investment calculator, and it's going to show us a rough calculator here. What we're going to do is we're going to start out with a starting amount of $0, and we are going to put a 30-year window in, assuming that we're 30 years old and we're going to save till we're 60. And I'm going to say that we're going to get an average 10% return on our investment. And that is something we should be able to get. The markets will produce around 10% on a yearly basis on average over the course of many decades. We're going to compound monthly, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to put in, every month, we're going to try to put in $300. And we're going to put it in the beginning of every month. Okay, now we're going to calculate this. Now here's an interesting thing. So after 30 years, we would have saved $683,797.60. Now it doesn't sound like much, and it might not be worth as much as it is today. I know that amount I can retire on right now. But in 30 years, maybe not so. But we have to remember here, this is what the interesting point is, even at the age of 30, even though you've lost a little bit of time, you're not 20 years old anymore or younger, you can still put in a small amount, 108,000, less around 16%, 15.8% of your contributions is your input, and the total interest is $575,797.60. So over 84% is compound interest in that time period. And this is not accounting for cost of living or inflation, or over time you should be able to earn more and contribute more in the long run. You might get your tax returns at the end of the year, and it's $1,000, let's say. Put it in. That all adds up. But this is the point I wanted to make to you, was you can go in here and you can calculate and play and get a rough idea looking at today's money, what you can put in, today's values, and get an idea what you can do with it in the future. And hopefully this motivates you to start saving. Hey, Future Frank here. I was going and editing the video and realizing I'd forgotten to mention a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, this is what I wanted to tell you. If you're in your 30s, I did come out and say to you, you still have time. And you do. You got lots of time left. but you will have to contribute more to have the same effect. Let's look at that whole compounding effect. Let's say at 10%, if you apply the rule 72, you only need 7.2 years to double whatever you have in your account. So if you have 50,000 saved, it's worth 100,000 in 7.2 years. So you've lost that doubling effect at least once in that time frame. That's what's really hurting you in your 30s. And the further you are and advanced in your 30s, closer to your 40s, once again, you're losing more and more time. And the effect becomes more dramatic as you get further on. Now, don't fret over the fact that you might say, well, I can only save $500,000, Frank, and in 30 years, what is it going to be worth? Don't worry about that. Let me tell you something. Broke is still broke in 30 years. Zero is still zero in 30 years. Still the same situation. But if you save anything, it will make a difference. And you have time. You don't have a lot of time, but you still have time on your hands that you can do some pretty significant damage. And one of my favorite sayings is, if you decide to save, the world will conspire to help you out. You know, you put your mind to it and it'll just begin to happen. I truly believe that because I've seen that happen. And I mentioned this in several videos in the past, and that is, even though I was only saving $500 a month, and I was trying to save up my first 100,000, should have taken me, at least, many years to get that 100,000. At $500 a month, it's over 16 years of saving, and that's not including compound interest, of course. But I did it in just over a year. Why? I decided to make that my goal. I decided to become a 100,000-aire. That sounds crazy. It's not even a word, really. But that's the stepping stone. You become a 1,000-aire, 10,000-aire, and a 100,000-aire, and you become a millionaire. And as you step through the different steps of wealth, you get to your destination. And in your 30s, wow, just hammer away at it. If you can put away more at this time, hey, I get it. I know you got families to worry about. I know you have, as I mentioned in the other videos, you know, dance lessons and skating and stuff for the family. I get that. But slot out a piece that's for you and your spouse, or if you're alone, just for you. And that's for you in the future. Don't rob from yourself in the future. And allow that to accumulate for your future. You will have to put more in. That is probably the overriding factor. If you're in your 20s, you can do a couple $100 a month, and wow, you can do crazy amounts in 40 years. But when you only have 30 years, like 20 to 30 years to invest, you have to double or triple what you got to put in. So you might only be able to put in 200 when you're in your 20s, but to get the same effect, you might have to put in 500 or 600 in your 30s. And when you get into your 40s and 50s, it does, I won't lie to you, it does get worse. So start saving today. Don't worry about overcomplicating it. Don't worry about inflation. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just begin to save. Pretty surprising. I won't lie to you. When I started looking at the results and mulling it over about a day or so later, I was actually really shocked at the difference that 20 to 30 year window made, like that window of being 20 and being 30. It gets worse. I'm sorry to say it gets worse. When you have less and less time, you have to contribute so much more. So my number one recommendation to you, if you're in your 30s, start saving today. Even if you're 39, just start saving. Save as much as you can. You will have to save more to have the same sort of effect in the long term, but just start saving. Be sure to subscribe, like this video, and stay tuned, because I do have other videos coming up which are really fantastic and are going to be talking about the other age ranges. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.